what are we here to talk about?
Well, we're here to talk about the turning over of women's rights in terms of Roe v. Wade. But I think
we're here to talk about current events.
I think the first thing we need to do, Bob, is play 30 seconds of quiet airtime, kind of a moment to say that we recognize how big and fucked up this is.
All right.
You know, we're doing the Roe v. Wade thing, guys, and we want to start with a little disclaimer that we understand that we're both cis white males. So it's you know, we give our input with all respect done to women. And we're saying this because we stand with y'all. This is about you. This isn't, no one's going to agree with what happened. But we also ask you to please take it with a grain of salt and kind of understand that we're just, as writers, as entertainers, as humans, we're just going to give our take on this. And we hope we don't offend anyone, and we hope that we represent. We don't necessarily. No, I don't think there's going to be a voice here representing the side that agrees with it. We're just going to be honest with you guys. We can't. We can talk about personal feelings and stuff, but just bear with us if this is too triggering for you, or you don't think we have a right. You know, please walk away respectfully.
Rem, I would like to jump in.
Please do.
I would like to put not a disclaimer, a caveat out there that I'm saving my full-fledged and unedited part of this for when we really get into the nitty-gritty. What I plan on doing with this episode is I plan on having my unapologetic take on something like this. And much like everything I do, it's going to involve the view from 10,000 feet. And that's where I really mean that I'm going to have that unapologetic. This is who I am. These are my beliefs. And, you know, you can do with it what you want.
Yeah. I think just to get things started, you know, obviously everyone knows what we're talking about. People are pretty much tuned to it. But for those who don't know, Roe v. Wade was overturned for a big portion of the country.
And can we also clarify not the misinformation that's out there?
Oh, of course. That's part of what we do.
It's federally. Basically, what they said is that they no longer feel that it needs to be federally recognized. So let me backtrack and tell everybody basically what the Supreme Court did here. The Supreme Court decided, even though the Supreme Court over the last 50 years has had different times where they could have decided on it, and they choose either not to, or they hear on it and the case that's been brought up they don't feel it rises to that level. In this situation, they just basically released a ruling that said, we don't feel this is the Supreme Court's call. We feel that this is a state's call because we live in a federal republic where we have an overseeing government, but the states are supposed to have the say in how they run things. And the Supreme Court was essentially saying, this goes back to the states, run yourself accordingly. What people may not know is that their opines came from a case that was brought to them from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And Texas's case was was it 6 or 8 weeks? They wanted to say you couldn't get abortions after 6 to 8 weeks.
I'd like to say 6, but I know it might have been 8 actually.
But while there was a moratorium in Texas, and during that moratorium, Texas decided we're just going to make it illegal.
Yeah,
and then put it in place where we're going to deputize citizens on the spot if they see people trying to get abortions, to either tell the police or do citizen's arrest.
So creepy incels can now knock on your door if they think something's happening, and citizens arrest you for trying to not potentially have a rape baby or whatever reason you don't want it. That's not our place to question you. It's not our fucking place to question you, but this is, you want to talk about culturally defining moments like our last episode. What the fuck, bro? I'm not even going to mince my words here. We felt it coming. People have been talking about it for a while. Everyone's been dancing around it, and people have been like, this can't happen. But that's as far as it gone, and then it happened. Like, my running joke is that I went to bed. It's not even a fucking joke. I wasn't trying to be funny, but it's like I went to bed in 2022 and woken up in 1950s Mississippi. Like, holy shit. And me and Bob, we've been in this war since we were, again, Gen X's, man. There were girls who were getting abortions, getting things taken care of. The one thing that I knew pretty early on was this. It's not that it's not my battle, but it's not my place to say, do this or do that, because I am not in their situation. I will never know what it's like to carry a child to term or to not carry a child to term. But I learned pretty young, and we'll talk about how with music and shit, surprisingly, but And I know this was an exact battle for me and Bob's parents. Not like they battled for it, but it was their lifetime when they saw the Roe v. Wade shit happening, you know? Classic movie Kramer versus Kramer, like there's divorce, you know, it was the rise of abortions and divorces, right? But this to me is the biggest backstep I've ever seen happen in my lifetime. Another big one was realizing how badly all the cops to African American people and black people. That was a big curtain pullback, but this is a curtain pullback that, listen, all you ladies who are empowered, all you ladies who've owned your sexuality and you're starting LLCs now and you're just owning your life, fuck you. What we're going to do right now is we're going to make you so fucking defeated and depressed that you're going to literally... What did they just do? They just fucking depressed half the country. You know, I've seen women who, even if they're not going to be affected by it, if they're older, it doesn't matter. I've seen women crying for fucking 2 days because they're like, oh my God, what's next? I'll tell you what's next. Why don't you tell them what's next in terms of fucking Clarence Thomas, bro?
Well, that's not where I was going to have a build up to my kind of piece.
Guys, I get really upset about this and I apologize if I get too emotional at times.
So, Rem, you know me well enough to know that basically when it comes to stuff like hot button issues, this is a hot button issue, things like that, especially when people are going to be emotionally charged, I try to take the rational view. Mm-hmm. I try to remove as much emotion as I can. So that's what I'm going to do with my preamble here.
Okay.
So my preamble is, up until this point in the podcast, I really have not talked about my political ideologies, my values, my morals, all that. But I'm going to do that now for the sake of this episode and what we're talking about. So I want to start by saying that politically speaking, I am a libertarian. So for people who don't know what a libertarian is, a libertarian believes in a limited government. It believes in voluntarism.
Freedom of the people.
Yeah, it believes in that we have freedom of choices, like on many different levels. Now, this is where it's going to get a little hazy. And if like Rem, for example, you want to ask me to clarify things.
I will be the voice of the public.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So my first takeaway when I saw what the Supreme Court did was that they did their job. And what their job was in that situation is they didn't feel like it was their decision to make. It's the state's decisions to make.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that, this is again, my opinion based on my beliefs. That doesn't mean that the states are going to make decisions that I would agree with, but I don't live there. That's not my state. That being said, let's bring it back to abortion because that's what we're doing this episode about.
Yeah.
Do I view abortion as murder? No, I don't. Do I view it as the ending of a life? Yes, I do. Do I think that it should be illegal? No, I don't. I think it should be legal because you know what? That's a choice that a woman has to herself. And that is a choice that comes with emotional and psychological levels of distress.
Physical levels.
That's not I feel like there's a sect of the country who, number one, they look at it as murder, and that's the pulpit they argue
the
from.
Dialogue they've believed.
But they also just think that they think it's like you're just a heartless person who did. No.
From people I know, it's never an easy decision.
No. I have many debates with people about abortion, many of whom are religious people, and they stick to that. And then when I say things like, "Are you going to take care of that child?" That unwanted child.
Oh, they don't care about that.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't care that the kid's going to be born into a loveless life and molested and passed around daycare and kept alive in group homes. No, they don't care about that. They just need to fucking tell the woman to not do that.
And ultimately, what I'm trying to say here in my take on abortion is it's not my choice to make what you do with your body, what you choose to do. That is not my choice. I also feel like it should be something that's available. We could sit here and argue about the level of availability. I'm not, and I don't think that's not what I'm here to do right now.
He doesn't want to open an abortion plex.
Yeah, but I also I don't want to sit there and be like, yeah, abortion's legal, but
that's the thing.
Up to the first 6,
mandates.
Up to the first 4 weeks.
Mandates, yeah, exactly.
You know, and because the opponents to an idea about that is, when do most people find out they're pregnant? 8 to 10 weeks.
Yeah.
So there's dialogue there
that making it impossible.
We can come to yes. It's like they're staying within the rules, and their interpretation of it is they're just playing with the words. They're playing a game of semantics.
That's what politics are. Oh, let's switch this here and here. You know.
So Rem, One area, though, that comes to this, because as I referenced earlier, we live in a federal republic.
We do.
And what people often say, we're a democracy. Yes, but
it's the illusion of democracy.
Our official model, like the official, what our country's government is a federal republic. And what that means is it's a federation made up of states. Mm-hmm. And every state is and the government is supposed to be like an arbitrator in certain instances.
They'll guide you there, but you can do your own shit.
But yeah, the point is that you make the rules about the state, your state. And that's basically been the tenet of our country since its founding.
And let's say before anything else too, me and Bob are lucky. We're in Massachusetts. It's not being heavily affected by this.
Oh yeah. The governor of Massachusetts, a Republican, Charlie Baker, has already come out and said that nothing's going to change in Massachusetts. And he
Come on in, we'll help you.
Yep. He said that those extradition laws that other states have put in place to extradite people back for committing crimes outside. No, he said, fuck you. He said, nope.
So proud New Englander, man.
Yep. Again, it's heavy.
Well, I think
it's heavy what we're talking about because.
Well, look, we can talk about the horrors too. Let's talk about the horrors. Okay, in the 70s, when it was still up for debate, legality, you had women going to what people would call I'm not going to mince my words here. Back alley abortion. It's a fucking van. It's a fucking van with coat hangers, man. That's all it is. And if you, for those who don't know, it's exactly what you think it is. She sits back, she opens her legs, and they stab her fucking uterus, and basically, and I'm not telling you this to offend you, I'm telling you what they have to go through if they're not doing it safe. Do you think there are women right now lining up to be like, I want 10 abortions? No. In most of the situations, I'm sorry to say, and I'll be quicker, but I'm the same stance as Bob. I'm pro-choice. I've always felt that way. I was raised by a single mother, and I had an older sister, and I just saw the issues that women had to deal with. So it was put in me pretty young that it's not my battle. I can support them. I can give them my 2 cents. I can stand behind them and hold them up, but it's not my place. But for me, another aspect that me and Bob were talking about is so what now? Like they've just made they've just weaponized one of the most private things between people. And because you're talking about weaponizing sex, ultimately. Let's talk about what it is. They're weaponizing sex for women. But
well, I mean, let's dig deeper, because what it is let's re-empower the patriarchy.
Yeah. Oh, no, dude. This is beyond a re-empowerment. This is the biggest dick slap that they've done in recent memory. The last dick slap like this was the Patriot Act. They were like, fuck you. We're going to watch you in your home and take videos, and there ain't shit you can do. Fuck you, suck a dick. And now they're like, fuck you. You have to have babies in an overpopulated world where couples can't even afford to live together without children. And you're going to bring more kids here? Dude, I'm dumbfounded. I always think, I think I have an elegant way to address it, but with this, I don't. I didn't expect to see this in my lifetime. It's really, really bothersome to me. I think that one thing men can do with the situation too is I think that we should up the snipping. I think men and boys who know that they maybe not want kids, and you can undo a snip. So snip your shit for 5 years, have sex where no woman's going to have to worry about that, bro. We got to do our part too.
I know when we were heading up here that I told you about a lot of the memes that I see women putting out there. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that you would rather see that coming from men. So here's one that I'm going to say as a man that I wholeheartedly agree with. Because related to this, aren't they limiting contraceptives?
Yo, this is.
I'm glad they are.
Christian
because this is my counter to that. All right, then we're going to limit your availability of Cialis and Viagra.
Yeah, it's an equal cut, man.
If that means that someday I can't do it because someday I get a limp dick and I can't do it, hey, well, then I'm going to be consistent and stand by saying that. Then we should limit that stuff too.
Yeah, because the problem right now is in the time when, in the last 5 years, women have become really empowered, and they've started some movements, and they've gotten a voice politically and socio-politically that they've had but never really had. And I think part of this has to do with the patriarchy observing that and being like, okay, they really don't need men anymore. Like, they're good, they're fucking independent.
Don't beat around the bush, Rem. Insecure white men.
Yeah.
Insecure white men got some cognitive dissonance going on because of the empowerment women sought and got for themselves.
Oh, she's naked. Oh, she's on OnlyFans. Oh, fuck. Oh, she doesn't want anything to do with us, old creepy white. Oh, fuck her uterus. Fuck her. You know what we're going to do?
Let me passively aggressively stick it to them where I can.
For a generation of women who've just been like, you know what? I like my body and I like myself and I'm proud of myself. And they're like, fuck you. Like now they're basically saying that they want everybody who has sex to make a baby. Holy fuck. Like I know, but if you take away the contraceptive and then do that, that's the dialogue is.
I wonder what that sounds like. Sounds very Christian.
This is the Handmaid's Tale at this point. They're trying to make women into breeders. That's what that story is. The fucking breeders. And like, I almost feel like we need to pause this discussion and do it with a woman. Not sex, not do it with a woman, but have a woman in for this discussion.
We could do this discussion, but we can also have it continued.
Yeah.
With a woman in.
A woman or two, yeah.
Yeah. For anyone who picked up on that, I brought up the Christian little angle there.
Let's be honest.
Yeah. So what it reminds me of, because I know a lot of people who are Christians. By the way, speaking of my beliefs and all that, I personally am agnostic. And what I mean by that is there could be a God. There may not be a God. I always make the joke that if we get to the end of my life and I'm presented with some pearly gates and someone seeing who's let in or let out, that I would show up and go, no hard feelings.
I just show up and I'd be like, I'll see myself out.
Yeah. Is this the elevator to hell?
Yeah, I'll just take that one.
It looks like a fiery water slide. No.
See, you're agnostic, and I was agnostic and I was atheist for a bit because I just thought I was so wise. But I've had some interesting experiences with spirits and hallucinogens and DMT where...
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm a spiritual person. I'm just...
That's my big thing.
You can be spiritual without being religious.
Oh, yeah. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual, but I'm spiritual in a sense that's not related to the church. Right. I observe the miracles, put it that way.
So I want to preface this by saying this isn't geared at all Christians. This is geared at radical Christians.
And we know
I want to preface this by saying, because a misnomer out there is that there are no liberals that are Christians.
Nah.
That's as dumb as like, if you're liberal, you don't support the troops,
or things like narrative. That. It's a default narrative. Yeah.
So when I see the Christians, the religious fanatical people, and they go on their pulpits and they're just like, oh yeah, let's use abortion for example. I am one of the people that reminds them that the Establishment Clause, which is also known as the First Amendment to the United States Constitution, says that there is a division between church and state.
Apparently not.
Do you want a little fucking background on this?
I want a little fucking background.
Do you know who opined that while they were convening for this for the ratification of the U.S. Constitution?
I don't.
The founder of Rhode Island, Roger Williams.
What's up?
He's the one. Yep, he's the one who opined it, and do you know why? Talk about living in the upside down.
Uno reverse.
He did. Yes, exactly. He did it because he was concerned that the government was getting involved with the church. Whereas today, the church is, I have a concern of the church getting involved.
Yeah,
with the
they always said separation of church and state, but this just proved that's not the case.
And by the way, because we've been speaking about the U.S. Supreme Court, this was confirmed and solidified with Lemon v. Kurtzman in 1971.
Now give for the people.
Yep. To be constitutional, a statute must have secular legislative purpose, principal effects that neither advance nor inhibit religion. They don't foster an excessive entanglement between the government and religion.
Hello.
Well, but again, we go back to semantics. They people like this look for the fine print and they look for the vagaries of where they can put it in. And it's scaffolding. You build it here and then you build upon it. You build upon it.
Yep. I mean, but the fact, and we're talking about, these are old Christian values that are suddenly being pushed in 2020. And, the rumors are at this point, not even the rumors, but the conjecture is that they're basically unprivatizing your bedroom.
Yeah. Clarence Thomas is, after this ruling, he came out and
scumbag.
He didn't say they're going to. He
didn't have to.
He asked the court if they could look into same-sex marriage and, the privacy of the bedroom and all. Yeah, he did that.
So I feel like, no, I can't say what I was just going to say.
Okay, well, do you want to talk about what an upstanding, moralistic person Clarence Thomas is?
Yeah, well, to start it off, guys, one of the first times that my generation, Bobby's generation, got acclimated to the seriousness of sexual harassment in the workplace was motherfucking Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill.
Yep.
And it's an incredibly interesting story. So we could do 5 hours on it. So educate yourself at this point, but
Can I summarize it?
Yeah, feel free. Even though you asked me to, that's fine. Fucking guy.
Okay, summarize it.
No, yeah, you're good. I already leaned back.
You've already shamed me. It's fine.
Yeah, but you shame me. No. Basically, dude, guy was in a high position of power, woman under him, and he was just that guy. He was like a Howard Stern fucking cliche. Now, give examples, because we got to talk about the pube coke.
Yeah, so he started, he started like any predator. He built trust. I'm trying. What the fuck is the word? Why am I blank? It's probably the heat. Yeah, he groomed.
Yeah.
He attempted to groom. She had very strong convictions and personal boundaries, and he would do things like try to invite her privately to
as her boss. Dude.
Yeah, campaigns, and she would always find a reason, and he would always try to get around that. And she was very, very clear and professional about this is a professional relationship. Okay, now you may go into the pubes.
No, and it was interesting because you've all seen it. And I'm sorry, if we came up in the 90s, I had fucking bosses that were creepy to meet. Like everybody did. It wasn't okay, but he was the kind of boss that would comment on how she looked, the way she walked by. And it came down to some serious shit like, okay, you know the kind of people who are predatory toward women and children, they turn everything sexual. You could be like, I'm having a good day, and they'd be like, are you wet? Like it's just this weird thing they do because they're negging the person. Like basically breaking them down like gaslighting. But I mean, it came down to what? There was a pubic hair on her fucking coke, right? And or was it on hers or his?
I believe it was on hers.
And he pointed out that it was one of his pubes. Like, what? Wait a minute, what?
And then she made a formal complaint about it.
And dude.
And she got blacklisted.
She got fucking people, as she was like telling the story on the news, people in the Supreme Court were like, basically, if you watch it, it's appalling. They're like, shut up, whore, bitch. Not literally, but it feels like that. But what was interesting is people like me and Bob and a couple of my other friends were like, so that's sexual harassment. And we knew to never do it and to never engage and to smack people who were. But like she was like a Monica Lewinsky, bro. She sacrificed her life to try to protect other women from it happening. And this motherfucker is still there. And now he's going to make it so that people can't be gay. Like, holy fuck. The only thing missing is he's black. He sounds like the kind of dude that would burn a cross on his own fucking lawn.
Well, I also think it's funny that he wants to bring up the conversation about getting rid of interracial marriage when his wife is white.
Wife is white. Like, what is happening? So then I presented to Bob finally because what you're hearing now is a longer version of what me and Bob do on the ride to the podcast. And, I looked at Bob, we came here, we ate some burgers and jumped in the pool because life is good for us. We're not going to lie. It's a beautiful thing.
There was no longing looking out the window today. Remy got to jump full force into that pool.
He said, bring the fucking suit. And I said, brother, I always have it on. But I said to him, I'm like, Aldous Huxley's famous quote is, maybe this planet is another planet's hell. And I've always found it really interesting. But lately, since the pandemic, I wonder if everyone on this timeline with us, did we all do something really wrong? Like, I can remember a car accident when I should have died, but I was okay. And I remember an incident when I stopped doing Xanax and stroked out and should have died and didn't. But I have moments I can go back to and been like, everything's been fucked since then. Because a world where women's rights are being stripped in 2022, women's reproductive fucking rights, this is a bad timeline, guys. We're on a bad timeline.
So, Rem, is now a good time for me to go into my stats?
Yeah, they're really impressive.
Because of how they relate to my ideologies and my thinking.
Yes, please.
I think it's fair to say that people who listen to this may take issue with me saying that the Supreme Court did their job. They did the right thing.
No, let me be the guy on the other end of this real quick.
All right. Okay, do you take issue with me saying that?
No, and I want to explain to people what Bob is saying. He isn't saying they did a good job. He didn't say, I agree with what they're doing at all. As a matter of fact, we both said we don't. He's saying they did their job. They're the system in power that does basically the ka-chinking of the walls, like cha-chunk. And they did it as offhands as they could, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm getting at.
So no, don't confuse what he's saying because he's not saying, yeah, they did their fucking job.
Now let's take it the next steps. So we put it back on the states.
Yeah.
And the states who we elect officials to represent us and our feelings on things and laws in good faith. We vote them in good faith that these people are going to represent us. So,
and we got to say, we see that locally people get whipped up into a frenzy during these fucking things.
So for everybody, I thought it would be absolutely appropriate. I did some research. The statistics I'm going to bring to your attention are from 5 different outlets. Some of which lean to the left, most of whom are centrist, and they all have to do with the state of Texas.
Okay.
Because Texas is where this starts. So let's go. For people who don't know, Texas, roughly 30 million people live in Texas. Okay? The Texas Tribune is a newspaper based out of Austin. Let's be honest, that's leaning left.
Yeah, Austin.
Yeah.
If you don't know.
Yeah. But I did have stats from Gallup.
Oh, okay.
Gallup is the gold standard for polls, just so people realize. Marist, which is second. The Houston Chronicle, which is, I believe, the second biggest paper in Texas.
Yeah.
And the Dallas Morning News, which is the biggest paper in Texas.
It's the go-to.
Yeah. The Dallas Morning News is centrist, maybe a little right. Houston Chronicle is centrist. So I'm doing a lot of centrist stuff.
But he's also trying to represent as many voices.
I want to be fair because that's what good research does. The amount of people who were polled in these polls equals probably, I would assume, a little over 10,000 people. I want to give people an idea. If we're doing a national poll, 10,000 is the minimum you need to have a strong poll. It's supposed to represent
a much larger number.
And it's supposed to equally represent the average of the entire country's feelings. So to have 10,000 people in Texas, that's a very strong. These results come from October of 2021, December of 2021, February of 2022, March of 2022, May of 2022.
So it's a good median.
Yep. I'll start with the Texas Tribune. 78% of the people polled believed abortion should be legal in some form.
78.
And only 15 said it should be illegal. Again, that's left-leaning, but now let's go to Gallup, the gold standard.
Different.
Ready? Their data comes mind-blowing. Theirs is the outlier for this. Theirs is from 2011 to 2021.
Okay.
10 years. 52% of Texans believe that abortion should be legal.
Which is 48.
And only 26
Oh.
think that it should be illegal.
It says a lot for everyone who's trying to condemn Texas.
So
right
the
now.
difference between the two polls, by the way, 52% said it should stay the way it is. It doesn't talk about with the percentage that feel it should be different but legal.
Oh, interesting.
Morris, this one is from this year. This one is going to blow your mind. 59% of Texans oppose the Texas law on abortion.
Oh, wow.
You know what I left out here?
No.
That was Republicans in Texas.
Oh, fuck.
Was your mind blown?
Yeah, completely. Because you would not expect that.
Houston Chronicle, 70% oppose the ban.
Wow.
Dallas Morning News, 54% abortion should be legal with restrictions like 15 weeks.
Yeah.
I think 15 weeks is reasonable.
Yeah.
So the point I'm saying in this, when I say we put it back on the states and our states, we vote for people to represent us, what am I saying with all the numbers? Are the people in Texas being represented? No. My point is, I know that question was rhetorical. No, they're not. And that's where I get pissed off.
Understandable.
Because Texas is being held up as
the example,
the Christian, conservative, wholesome model. And that's not what the people want.
No, it's interesting. It's an example of basically, again, the narrative switching to fill the narrative. But it's like you also have to be a little bit swayed by that because.
And by the way, the media by a whole is not covering the protests and the anger in Texas over this right now.
And that's a shame.
And come on, like that's where I get upset because in good faith, people voted for the people that are making these decisions on their state's laws and they're not representing them. So what the fuck are you doing there? And I know people go out and say like, oh, that's why you vote them out. Well, I voted for them in the first place to represent me.
Now I have to
and they're not. Yeah. So what? And here's another extreme that people will go to. I did that. I voted for someone to represent me,
and they
didn't work. So why the fuck should I keep voting?
Why would I keep going? Exactly.
This is the reason why when it comes to voting, when people tell me when I don't vote for a Democrat or a Republican candidate for president, and I vote for Dr. Joe Jorgensen, like I did in 2020, that I wasted a vote and I helped the quote unquote the evil side.
I used to vote for Bernie. People would say the same shit to me. Fuck you.
But what I tell them is I didn't waste my vote. I voted so that a third-party candidate can get percentage points for the next time to get equal footing, to get into debates. Did any people know that? That's why there are only two people debates.
And they're two argument debates. They're so fucking cut and dry. One side does, one side doesn't.
And the great thing about being a libertarian is I feel like I'm in between liberals and conservatives, and I hate I'm talking the politicians themselves. Yeah, I hate them all equally because to me they get to Capitol Hill and they're all in the same team.
Yeah, they push the same. That's the thing that I laugh about the 2-party system, the 3-party system, the 5-party system because listen, man, you have to understand that the people who are in that type of power situation, they're all listening to the same record.
Yep.
Even if they like different best songs on that record, they're all listening to the same record. They're all reading the same book. So we can pretend. I think the problem right now as a result of this is we no longer feel represented. And more so for fucking women.
And that's what I'm getting at, Rem. Like, that's why I don't have, so it's the in theory. In theory, I don't have a problem with the justices that the Supreme Court did, because if we're represented accordingly in our states, then
we're fine.
Then we're fine.
But we're not.
Yeah. And that's where I get upset. Another area I get upset, this is me. You know me, Rem. I love to make movie and pop culture references.
Oh, yeah, that's our shit.
This is where I'm bringing it back to V for Vendetta. And this is where I'm going to take people to task.
Revolution.
This is where I'm going to take the people to task, because too many of us are just complacent. We're complacent in it's the way it is.
Everything.
There's nothing. Do you know, again, I told you, Rem, I was going to blow your mind with my views at some point. I think I started to with that Texas Republicans thing.
Yeah, that was
here's
crazy.
where I am.
Bring it back.
This is where I'm really going to go. We have a group, we have a lot of people in our country talk about revolution.
Buzzword.
And
no action.
I don't know you don't know what you're talking about, first and foremost. And I say that because you want to change in the mindset of the existing institution. That's evolution. That's not revolution.
Yeah.
I am a person of revolution. I think we have an antiquated, broken system that needs to be replaced.
Yeah, I agree. We were talking on the way up here. Let them eat cake, bro.
Yes, yeah. We were referencing the French Revolution and Marie Antoinette.
At what point are the women who are incredibly strong and going to find the men who are behind them that are incredibly strong, and we're all going to say, hey, you know what? And listen, do me and Bobby suggest any acts of anarchy? No. Never misunderstand what we're saying.
You know, people are trying to basically stalk the justices that shot this down, find out where they eat and all that.
Oh, of course, dox the shit out of them.
But I don't agree with that either. Because I'm about pacifism.
And that's not going to help your argument, guys.
No.
If you're going to attack the people who did it, they're going to say, see, they're animals.
Yep. You reinforce. You've created their self-fulfilling prophecy about the difference between us. My biggest concern, it's again, deepens the rifts in our country.
But that's what the goal is, man. The goal is...
But I personally, because when I say that, what I personally mean is, with the way that this is heading, like, I just see the country breaking up into smaller countries. And I personally, I don't have a problem with that. Like, I think the Northeast would be its own country, and, you know, the South, you can be your own country.
Yeah.
And like, do what you want. Hey, that's your choice. I won't go there because it's just not going to be my thing.
That's not for me.
Because that would be a way to take away power.
Yeah. Sovereign states.
Yeah. Because this is where I get frustrated. These are real issues. They're hot button issues. They're what stir the bases of the political ideologies.
Doesn't undermine them.
But they're distractions at the same time.
Yeah. I mean,
much like Trump's presidency was the distraction. Because do you know what went on during all of his circus sideshows?
Well, in what way?
Mitch McConnell recommended all of the federal judges. By the way, during Trump's presidency, do you know that was the most federal appointed judges in our country's history?
And they weren't good people.
And this is why I think he ultimately is an evil man.
Yeah.
Conservatism at all costs.
Oh, yeah. Bring back the family.
Yep. He is the epitome of just like, he's doing all these things to lay his dick on the table and be like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
You're going to service me, or you're going to be uncomfortable about it. Either way, I find it reinforcing. Like, that's my issue here. He is someone who doesn't care. He cares about his values, and he's going to force them upon you.
Oh,
and that is the antithesis of what I believe in. Do I have what's considered conservative views? Some. I also have liberal views. That's kind of what being a libertarian is.
Yeah.
It's situationally specific, and that's why they don't try to target me, because I'm too hard. Life is hard. Life is hard, and so am I. Yeah, you like that reference?
I know you make it, but you're not letting me get a goddamn word in edgewise.
It's because I'm on my pulpit now.
I know you're doing good, brother.
Yeah, but we have situations here, and I want to go back to the revolution part. And before I get to that, I do have to say, I've brought up Paulo Freire a lot because he wrote about oppression. He wrote about it in Brazil.
Yeah, a different
But the biggest lie that we tell ourselves is that there's no oppression in our country of any level. There's race oppression. There's gender oppression. There's sexual orientation oppression. There's class oppression.
Yeah.
And our country is just built up in a way where it has set up a system that is so complex that that's what keeps it going.
It's a tank. Think about trying to slow down a tank with a fucking speed bump.
Do you know why it's hard to get so many people behind a certain cause that actually leads to change? Because our government has set up a system where too many people feel like they actually have something significant to lose.
Yeah.
That they don't want to lose. That's the biggest way they do it. And it's not done in one way. We have to let go of black or white thinking. because everything that involves our government and policy making is in the gray.
Yep.
It's in the gray. Okay.
And I think the gray's a more better representation.
Yes.
No one I know fully falls on one side.
No, that's the reality, but that's not what we're painted because the media is in on it too.
Media is it.
The media, all of the major media, be it print or cable news or whatever, is basically owned by 5 companies, right?
Mm-hmm. Clear channels.
So what do those companies do?
They send out They send out the same.
They send out misinformation to keep us focused on in-house fighting so that they can do what they want.
Have you guys ever watched those clips where they show 56 news reporters from the same day and they're all saying the exact same Clear Channel screenplay? So like they'll show 50 reporters at the same time being like, you're not going to every word. You're not going to believe what happened today. It was a real blunder out in D.C. when blah, blah, blah. And they just show all these people next to each other. They're not even saying it differently. I'm a writer. When I get a press release, I change it. I put it in different words. This is fucking crazy. It's scripted and it's put in place. Bro, it's...
And if I'm talking about distractions...
System of oppression.
I want to make something very clear. Abortion, this issue, it affects a lot of people. And yes, like Remy said, it doesn't affect us in the Northeast. All these states have pretty much said nothing's going to change for us.
Yeah.
And it does impact like the middle, the quote unquote Bible Belt of the country. It does. But that's not what is as concerning to me. What's concerning to me is what are they doing while we're distracted with this?
Bro, what do you think that Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing was?
That was another thing.
They threw that at us and we weren't paying attention to the wheels that were going in the fucking court, and just look what happened as soon as it ended.
Yep.
Weapons of mass distraction, man. It's one of my favorite expressions.
Yeah. So if we're talking about true revolution, the people that feel as if they have something to lose
will be the ones to rise up.
They have to be a part of it. They have to be willing to make those sacrifices.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if you're like me, and my take on a lot of this stuff is, if one of us doesn't have equal rights or equal representation and all that, then none of us do.
Yeah, it's what it comes down to. You know?
I know people look at like libertarian and they look at the individual, but I'm also a compassionate human being who says if the things that I experience and I benefit from do not apply to somebody else, then our job is not done.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you know what? If I'm going to, in the short term, that's because that's really what it is. In the short term, if I'm going to lose for all of us to win in the long term, so be it.
Yeah.
That's my way of saying to you, Rem, but to all the women out there and all that is, I am with you.
We are. And, we're here. I think we have to be careful because I was talking to Bob, we want to offer people to camp because we're in a place that's safe, but I also don't want us to not be able to provide those for people. So, if anybody's in a tough situation, we are in New England, we're in Massachusetts, maybe reach out and we'll see if there's anything we can do to help because there's a lot of women and girls really, really broken right now and just feeling hopeless and helpless.
Vulnerable.
Yeah. And I think that, I think a lot of guys should step up and do the snip. I think that right now the dialogue needs to change from women being sad to men saying, what can we do to help this problem? What can we do to make
I think that's pretty much what we
That's what we did here.
That's what we did here. Yeah. Long-winded way, but that's what we did.
No, and I hope my prayer is that other people do. If 5 dudes listening to this know now to hit up some of the females in your life and see how they're doing today. See how they're doing.
People stop making the other side, stop making your opposite sides the enemy.
That's what they're trying to make.
And that's what they want us to do.
Yes.
For example, everybody, I was speaking with someone who went out of their way to identify as a Republican. This was on Friday. And their biggest concern about 2024 is that Trump is running again. That's a Republican. That's a Republican saying that.
What does that tell you about how powerless people and voiceless we feel right now?
Yeah. So we have to, and for people who, you have to come together with people who have opposite opinions of yourself. This is for everyone. I'm not talking to women. This is for everybody. You have to come together. You have to have tough conversations and you have to come to compromises. That is how progress is made. And through our sacrifices and through all of this stuff, that is how we get revolution.
Nice. Well said.
Thank you.
And I wanted to get this point out too. The dialogue, unfortunately, since this has been, I don't want to say it's anti-male because it hasn't been, but I think a lot of women in the last week, especially since that, have looked at men as the enemy and what caused this. And do we understand that we wear the same face as them? Yes. But y'all need to know, and I'm not saying this for my sake, I'm saying this for all of you to tell each other. You need to know when it comes to this situation. So it became kind of a war on men. That's fucked up. That's wrong. But I think that the women saw the change in the vote and looked at their boyfriends and husbands a little bit like you. And I get that we represent sperm and babies. I do. But you guys need to know, not for us, for you, that we're here for you.
Yes.
We are nothing we're doing is for us. Nothing. But we want to make sure that this opens up like a Hands Across America lifeline for people. And I do think women need to know that the best guys I know, and I've seen a lot of them this week and I've talked about it a lot. The guest who was supposed to be on today talked about this all last night. The men that I know are appalled, and they would not have made the vote, no matter where they stand. They wouldn't have made that vote. So you might look at your brothers or your husbands or whatever and be kind of like disgusted. Please know, if they're horrible people who wanted that, cut them out of your life. But most of us right now are like, listen.
You don't need that negativity in your life.
No, and this is all I can say. Imagine the visual of when a person falls back, the trust fall, okay? Think about the trust fall right now, and this is to all females, you know? Well, I want you all to know that there are now 40, 50, 80, 1,000 dudes standing behind you with their hands to hold up your back when you fall. That's all it is. None of these people want to grope you. None of these people want to hurt you. We're just, all I'm saying, even right now, if you looked at me and Bob, our hands are out. Like, in other words, fall back. We're just going to push you back forward. That's it. You don't owe us anything. Doesn't mean we want to fuck you. I know the dialogue is really weird right now, but this is a chance for the men to show solidarity for the women. And we've never, in me and Bobby's millennial lifetime, seen it like this. We've had other instances, but this is it. So this is for the men. Support your women. If you have friends, hit them up. Take them out to eat. Because a lot of women have been crying for 3 days, dude. Like, this has been happening. So check on your people, man. Check on your mom. Yeah, your mom's not going to have any more kids, but ask her how she feels. Like, let's talk. And mainly, I promise you, ladies, there are good guys standing behind you. You owe us nothing, but let us just stand here. And if someone steps out of line, I'll break a jaw. Not with a woman, I mean. I mean, if somebody's like kind of come in. So just know you're not alone. We see you. We respect you. We're incredibly sorry. You know, we didn't have anything to do with it. We're incredibly sorry to see this. But the ones who made the vote at this point don't matter. Because the army of men behind you like us is so much bigger than them.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's good. I think it's cathartic. Yep.
Chef's kiss. Yeah, man. So
please reach out to us to any means necessary with any questions you got or any support you want to get started.
We'd love to do another episode with a female or two. Just because all we can do is say, how about a woman who's been through it or knows what it's like or has gotten sick or, you know what I'm saying? So please, females, reach out with us. We're not like old, like weird. You know the old thing? The old thing was any men that a woman wrote to on the internet, he'd be like, we should have sex and show me your vagina now. Me and Bob are dead and sad, so don't worry about any of that shit. This place is safe, all right? For real.
I'll be honest, Rem. If people were to look at me,
I think you're handsome as shit.
They would be like, that's the guy who's going to lock me in my basement.
Both of us.
Whereas the reality is,
we'll kill the guys who would.
Yeah, I'm the guy standing there with a shovel ready to like chop a dude in the neck.
That's what's funny about me and Bob. Yeah, we look like the guys who'd break into your house, but we'd kill the guys breaking into your house. So anyway, you know what? Stay strong, keep your head up. This is not going to define you, women. This is not, I promise. And yeah, man, we're here. That's it. All we can say is we're here to listen. And if you need anything, please, and not just me and Bob, of the men in your life, of anyone, if you need something, reach out. No one should be suffering through this alone.
And on that note, we hope to talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye.